Welcome to a very special Instalock Mid, episode 6. As always, this is Motgnarom, your host, with Aliwicious,
Hello, everybody.
Renzler,
What up?
and this week we have two guests, better than the one guest we had 2 weeks before. Always better with two. We got Ken and Lex from the Pentakill app.
Hey.
Hey.
So, we have an awesome episode lined up for you guys this week. We've got lots to talk about, so let's get right into it. Renzler, how was your week?
I had a really good week. I picked up new audio equipment, as some of you can probably hear the difference already. And that's going to make our podcast recording much higher quality, so that's awesome. I also played a lot of Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, and I managed to kill Ezio like a dozen times in 3 hours, which is hilarious. And I had some pretty solid Warwick playing on Saturday, I gotta say. Finally got to bust out some league games over the weekend, and things went pretty well. Did 6-1, but we'll save the rest of those details for the Zero to Hero segment.
Very nice. Aloysius, how about you?
Pretty crazy week. A ton of work. Didn't get to play as many games as I wanted, but I did have a few really solid games. You know, I would have loved to have played more.
Cool. And you picked up Zyra this week, right?
Oh, yes, I did.
Ooh, we're going to talk about that.
Jealous.
Ken and Lex, how are you guys doing?
Good. We've been doing a lot of interviews and kind of running the marketing circuit for trying to get awareness out about the app. And then I had a pretty long night last night, taking clients out for drinks. So.
Must be tough. Must be tough.
Yeah, it's a really hard life.
Yeah, he walked into the office today with 4 bottles of water in front of him. It was just like, hydration, hydration.
How about you, Lex?
Oh, nothing much, really, just working for the man.
Nice.
Cool. Now, you guys, your larger company is Twin Engine Labs, correct?
See.
And where are you guys located?
We're actually looking at Louisiana, so deep south over here.
How does help?
You can hear it.
Yeah. Can you hear the heat? It's just miserable.
Literally permeating.
It's 106 over here.
Oh, there you go.
Nice. You win.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have to turn off my fan for the cast, so it's getting.
Oh.
But yeah. My week was interesting. I played more League this week, I think, than I ever did. And sorry to LOL girls. I can't pronounce her name. She knows.
Awen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel bad because we tried to set up a game with her earlier this week, and every single time I'm on and she's on, I'm in a game or she's in a game. And just as we're getting ready to start the cast, boom, she sends me a game invite. So
Signs on. I see you.
we'll get in a game with her after the show. So be looking forward to that. So we got some league news, as we always do every week. First item on the docket, Heroes of NEWERTH making all of their champions free to play. A little, my opinion, a little sad to see. It seems like they've sort of reduced their services to compete with games like League of Legends and Dota and the upcoming phenomenon Smite. And I think it's a little sad to see that they've had to compromise a bit. What do you guys feel about this?
I kind of feel the same way for sure. I think one of the beautiful things about playing and earning champions is that drive, like, oh, I just unlocked a really cool champion, and then you maybe watch a really good stream or see a really good game, and you're like, oh, you know, I don't own Nidalee or whoever, and you're just like, well, guess I got to play that many more games to buy her.
Right, with 100 and some odd champions, like, you've got plenty to work towards. It's not like other free games where you either have to pay your way in or, you know, you have to play forever. Or, sorry, you don't have to play forever to unlock everything.
So my take on making all champions free, it really depends on the abilities of the champions and really where the mechanics come from and what the developers are trying to do. Now, with League of Legends, the way I see having champions that you buy, it makes you pay attention. It helps you learn champions a little bit slower because the average person won't just be buying all the champions and then playing 1 or 2 games with each one. So I think in the end, it helps you become better at each individual champion because either you're not opening your wallet every time a new champion comes out, or you could be just simply grinding out with a champion to learn it just to buy the next one. And having a new champion released possibly every 3 weeks to a month, that's doable. I mean, even at my slow playing pace, I can still earn enough if they're not the 6,300 now. But if they're in the 3,000 range, a month seems very doable, especially with the win bonus things. So with them making it free, it really depends on where they're trying to go with it. It also makes me think, great, now that I have all this selection, I don't know who to pick. I don't know who to learn. So I like having a smaller selection in the beginning. That's just my take.
So on the agency side, we actually did a lot of research into what makes people spend money when they play free-to-play games, and most of it's customization. And then the whales actually don't have a problem dropping the so you have ranked users, right? How much money they actually spend. And it's like peasant all the way up to king or whale. It's very like poker term.
Of course.
No, I hear what you're talking about. I know.
Yeah, and so. It's funny because my brother and I are identical twins, but we're totally different spenders, right? And he's okay grinding out the points. Once he gets really good with the character, he'll buy a skin or something, right? Whereas I typically will buy a character and a skin at the same time weekly, right? And I have no problem doing that, right? And so I think every champion free basically just puts an emphasis on how cool you look while you're playing, and then any other sort of boosts and things that they can give you. Those are what you spend money on at that point. So I think all your arguments are like great for like as far as like gameplay, but as far as like that company is concerned, I think they made a pretty smart move. Just cut everybody loose, let them fall in love with a bunch of different characters, and all of those characters will need some sort of customization at some point. Right?
It's actually a pretty legit viewpoint that I think most would not have considered.
And I think Dota kind of falls in line with that because you have Valve who, with games like Team Fortress and now Dota 2 out, customization is what it's all about. I mean, how long have they been able to keep the Team Fortress series going?
Look at all the hats.
Yeah, all the hats, and now
so many hats.
They've got hats for Dota 2 too. So
yeah,
damn those hats.
It's you have to have something, I feel, to keep people playing. And for League, it's earning IP, buying runes, and buying champions. And for other games, they've got to find their own customization tweaks. So, yeah.
Yeah, I looked at Dota because we're all still pretty new League players, and I was just like, what's going on over here with this Smite and Dota and all this nonsense? And so went and looked at them, and they look amazing, but I was just terrified of their customization.
Yeah,
I was like, oh
nuts.
god, like,
yeah, Smite's
I'm
nuts.
so scared. I'm gonna spend so much money on this.
Right.
So I stayed away from Dota. Just being able to buy different axes that people create from the community is just. I know I would just be dropping dollars like all day long on that game.
I know how good communities make content, and you're just like, yep, that and that and that as well.
So, in more news, we have a couple of red posts that pique some interest. Morello posted earlier this week, identified the future of some tentative champions to be built. We're going to be seeing 2 pure support champions a year. We've had 1 so far, so we can be expecting to see 1 more in the works. We have a Void Monster in the next few months. Another kind of monster champion by the end of the year. Some mages, elemental based, by the end of 2012. A shapeshifter and a beast-like humanoid similar to Warwick or Nasus. Now, this ties in pretty well, I think, with the very recent announcement of Diana, the Scorn of the Moon. A lot of people are drawing some comparisons, certainly lore-wise, but also playstyle-wise, with that of Leona. And Leona obviously being an amazing support, one of my favorites to play. Hopefully we'll see maybe this one being a bit of a support character. Now, the good people over at Surrender at 20 managed to pick up on Diana not too long ago, actually, in a different post, and identified some of her abilities through the data binding files they found. They were able to retrieve Moonlight Sword, Lunaria, which is a pulse ability, and then something to do with the lance. And then from that, they were able to draw a stun mechanic and a silence. So, how do you guys? I mean, having some loose information from Morello, where do you guys think this champion is going to fall in?
I think it's kind of hard to take a shot right now. It could easily be like a tank. It could be a jungler. The mechanics are a little hard to read, and the playstyle right now, through the sneak peek that they actually just released on the official League of Legends site, isn't super firm. But I do know that it would be nice to see another support. I know we haven't seen one in quite some time. It would be nice to see that as a support. I would laugh again because then that would confirm that there are no male supports in this game. Not a single one. You just don't get to be one. I lied, Tarek, but everyone has
Tarek's on the border there.
Yeah.
Everyone knows
in
he sucks.
question.
Tarek's good. I recently bought Tarek, and
I'm sorry.
I'm not a huge support player, but
I'm sorry.
well, I guess it's the only thing I do well. Tarek's good though. I enjoy him. He's not bad.
Okay.
I would be a little disappointed, to be honest, to see this new champion be a support. I mean, it definitely has support abilities in there, and a lot of them sound similar to Leona's abilities. And I mean, a lot of people are saying like, "Oh, it's Leona's sister" or whatever. It's two different factions, the Sun and the Light. But I think it would be a little disappointing to see two characters so closely entwined doing the same thing, unless they were doing the same thing in a completely different way, so that they would kind of come at ends, and you could see a lane with a sun side and a dark side. I don't know. I hope it's not a support. I hope it's something more interesting.
That's what I'm thinking, is that I think it would be too obvious to do that, but I won't put it past them.
Right.
I'm all about some more supports, though. That'd be great.
I agree. They're kind of stale.
I'm looking at some forums though, and you're saying that she's probably going to be an 80 bruiser or 80 tank. And
I would like that for sure.
That would be interesting. Mhm. But they said the reason why they chose Diana was that, in case you didn't notice, like her name is a moon reference. Diana is a Romanized name of Artemis, the goddess of the hunt and the moon. So that would be pretty cool.
I would enjoy something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sad that as League has grown, the lore has not been as well kept as it started out as, and that's
Oh my gosh, I love the lore. That's
right.
amazing.
It's so
Yeah.
good.
It is. It really is. Need more. Need more.
Yeah. I remember like back when they did the Ionian Noxian battle, like that was cool, and a lot of people really loved that. And I'm sad that they haven't really kept up with that.
Yeah, you mentioned that in a previous cast that one of your champs that had the favorite lore, had a lot of stuff behind it.
Yeah, I like some really good lore. I love like Jarvan in a really weird way. I don't play Jarvan, but I love his cool lore. I love the little factions, the Yordles. I love all of that. I love more of it. Everybody loves Yordles.
I really like Riven. Riven is pretty
Riven
cool.
has some good lore.
The broken sword. Oh gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody on our Twitter was asking about it earlier this week, and I couldn't find it, but maybe you guys know something. There was somebody looking for one place that had all of the lore together, not just as individual champions, but how they all played into each other and sort of the story.
The League wiki does almost it's like a decent job of kind of referencing some overarching stuff with links intertwined. So like you can start to look at like, oh, Noxia, what's Noxia, and then have that kind of bring you to a page that will accommodate like all the Noxian characters and some of the lore surrounding the territory.
Right.
It's probably the best out there, I would say.
Yeah.
Sure. That'd be pretty cool.
Should start writing books or something.
You really should.
Well, then that would be pretty neat.
I
One of
think
my
they have the
favorites
basis,
is, Wukong, the monkey.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like he's traditional Chinese, like from traditional Chinese, like legend. And
He's a real person. Well,
Yeah, pretty much.
as close as it gets to real from a video game.
It's a real monkey. Yay!
Yeah, he is.
A lot of people were kind of upset in Dota when they mentioned it. And they're like, oh, you guys are stealing League champions. I hate to be the one to rain on that parade, but it's not new.
Like, I think it's the other way around. So
Right. So more news. We got some Rumble nerfs coming up. Apparently, and now I have no sense of when a character is OP because usually I just assume it's a really great person behind it playing it. Apparently, Rumble's been incredibly overpowered for a while, and it has to do with his flamethrower. And he's going to be seeing some nerfs coming up in the not too distant future. And now I can't speak specifically to tournament play because I don't follow tournaments and I don't play ranked too often. But I haven't seen him too much recently. Have you guys had any experiences with Rumble that justifies this nerf? I know it's obviously out there because a lot of people are talking about it and agreeing it, and Riot's picked up on it. But what are you guys what are you guys seeing out of this?
The flamethrower, and I think it's kind of funny if you remember the post that they said about it. In the bug fixes during the Jace patch that came out, it didn't hit as much as it should have.
Mm-hmm.
So they balanced their damage on that guy on the inconsistency of hitting. So I think it's kind of funny now that they're like, okay, well, let's keep up in the numbers, and then finally they fix those bugs. And now that flamethrower so hard. It's so good.
Now that it actually hits like it's supposed to, it's OP
Yeah.
because the mechanic works, and you're like, oh crap, well maybe we should break it again, and that way it'll fix the damage. But
Right?
I've been
It's
cut
like
down
bugs.
by it. I mean, obviously I'm a new player, but I've been cut down by it, even by bots. I mean, they just used better tactics than I was using. It's just simply how it is. And yeah, trying to run away from that and him just hitting it, and getting that catch up on you, that's brutal.
Those
That
bots,
one.
those bots are brave. They'll tower dive you. They don't care.
Yeah.
They're not
Yeah.
afraid
I've
to
seen
die.
that. That happened to me yesterday.
They don't give
So it's so tough too because you're just trying to like last hit, not push your lane, just practice, and then these things are just like wailing on you like as soon
Yeah,
as
it's
you're
like,
a
hi
minion
guys, and
or
just
two
comes in
away.
and just starts punching people.
robots don't care about last hitting. They automatically get free money.
Bots OP, man. Just
Right? They just
strong.
chase you down. They're like, I don't need minions.
Exactly.
So good.
You get anywhere in range of a spell, they'll just be like, well, nope, no more minions, all on you.
Yeah. Like Tarek, when you get in range of a Tarek, he
Instant
hits
stun.
stun on cooldown.
He doesn't even move. He doesn't even need to move the mouse. It's just instant. If you walk in this space, you will be stunned.
It's so good. So good.
Which is really annoying, I gotta tell you.
Yeah. It's funny because
Yeah.
like you learn players, and players usually try to kill you when they believe it's possible. Bots just always use their spells.
They just go for
Like
it.
a different beast.
I'm gonna kill this guy. He's in range.
Right? That's good.
Well, we have we did the devs versus fans for the announcement of Pentakill. Our one good player played Rumble, and that was probably the only point in which we were actually doing decently well.
Now, how long?
No, we got face rolled. It was pretty bad. It's
How
on
long-
YouTube and it's hilarious. But
How long have you guys had been playing when you did that?
our lowest rank was level 16, and our highest was like 22 or something. So
That's not bad. That's not terrible.
but we played level 30 ranked guys that were all like 14 to 1800.
Oh,
And
Okay.
we didn't even have a jungler. Like it was 2-1-2. Like I mean, it was. So they had like a jungle Alistar that was just.
Oh god. Yeah. There you go.
Yep.
Nice.
So the cow god was killing us. But but Rumble actually we ended up surviving because of that flamethrower sometimes. So.
Good.
There you go.
Yeah.
Good.
There you go.
You guys can go talk to Winnie about it. She was one of the players.
Yeah,
that
Winnie
saw
was.
them.
Yeah, we had to play a Winnie.
Nice. Nice.
Cool.
Uh,
So in other news, we have nice interview between GameSpot.com, interestingly enough, haven't heard anything from them in a while, and the MLG CEO, and there was some focus in on League of Legends and its role within MLG, and we've obviously seen, if you've seen the tournament calendar on Reddit.com, it's a part of the subreddit. Somebody's built a tournament calendar of when all the tournaments are, and it's just like every day there is a tournament somewhere, no matter how minor or insignificant it is. There's always something going on. But they were just talking about the role of League of Legends in the esports arena, and just talking about how great Riot has been and how high their expectations are. and obviously with the recent news about them becoming one of the most played games, I think it's actually the most played game in the world. That's huge. It's obviously become a major driving force in the esports arena. So we'll hopefully be seeing a lot of really cool things coming out of that. Now, have you guys? Do you guys at Twin Engine do anything with esports? Is there any part that you guys have checked out from there?
We follow, but we don't. What we're trying to do is sort of field the interest in being able to catch streams and put them into our app and things like that, or tournament schedules and push notifications and things about like when your favorite pro gamers are playing. But we're all still fairly new, and so we just kind of watch on in awe at these pro guys, and just kind of enjoy like understanding that this is much bigger than we thought it was when we started making an app for it. So
That's fair.
Very nice. Now, this week we saw Zyra come out. I've played against her, and well, I'll give my opinions afterwards. Aliwicious, you've actually played Zyra. What have your experiences been?
Okay, so I'm at about 3 games with her, so this is still based on the wonkiness that is, the first few attempts. Right off the bat, the passive it's not bad. I don't mind the passive on her. I think it's another one of those that they've kind of worked in along with a bunch of the other abilities. But some of her more fruitful abilities, particularly her Q, does an obscene amount of damage right out the gates from level 1. And it's a little bit of a timing. It's a nice little AoE on the ground. It's dodgeable if you're paying attention. Her W passively stacks seeds. She can collect up to 2, and then she can place them down rapidly, and then hitting them with her Q or E turns them into either more of an AD kind of plant or a slowing utility kind of situation. The one thing that I have been noticing, and I spoke with somebody about it earlier, I feel like she's very good and very strong in her lane, but her late game utility is very hard to keep up. If people are focusing you in the AD carry as they should be, Zyra does a lot of her damage as kind of a consistent upkeep while providing some level of utility. Her burst is great, but it's kind of funny that her burst is very good, and they mentioned even in the champion spotlight that you really should sit at the back of the fight and kind of keep constant damage up. But I think those two being combined actually put her in as a little OP. And in kind of a weird reflection on Rise of the Thorns, her passive, a little bit of an elaboration on that. That does so much damage. And I guess I don't understand if they want you to be what would be an AP mid, kind of a carry scenario, and then in turn they want you to kind of hang back in the fight and keep up constant damage. But then they give you something that I would say is pretty much up there with like Karthus. Like, go in there, do what you can, die, and then just hit everyone with that awesome true damage nuke. Like, what? Why? I don't understand.
See, it's funny because the early streams I saw when she was in beta, it looked like it wasn't doing anything. It looked like it was just terrible. But I've been hit by that thing more than enough times this week to feel the burn.
I think it hurts a lot.
Everyone else, did anybody else play against her?
Nope.
I haven't, but I did look at a jungle guide for her. It's pretty interesting.
There's a jungle guide for her, apparently.
Yeah.
Awesome.
The greatest jungle guide ever. Run in, right click, win.
We found some stuff where Zyra's getting 2 Pentakills in 2 minutes. It's over on Game Zone. Yeah.
Wait, what?
Okay. So apparently I haven't really played against good Zyras because my experience, I've had I think the 3 games I played against were with a Zyra. Actually, all 3 of them were Zyra on Zyra mid. I really like the utility. In team fights, it was really clutch, but I never felt like going up against her made a huge difference in the team fight, no more than any other, AP carry mid would. So I was going to tag her as not OP, but apparently I am.
I accidentally got a triple kill at level 4 in my first game with her. And everyone in the game was like, what? And I was like, I don't even know. I don't know what I did, but get some. and like I died, and it was awesome.
Get some.
It's a great way to start a game when not only do you get first blood, but your first blood also comes with 2 other kills.
Nice.
Right?
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Immediately hooked, right? Like,
Right? Like, oh great, I'll play the OP champ.
First triple blood kill. Wait, what?
And for the first half of the game, anytime me or the opposing Zyra got a kill, it always came with multiples. So I said, so that's Zyra's hidden passive that people are trying to figure out. She always gets more than 1 kill at a time. It just
Impossible to
has-
get just 1 kill.
Right.
You always get 2.
I'm still waiting to see what those are, by the way. The talk about the hidden passives, and it was even posted by a Red, and they were just like, yep, she's got a bunch of hidden passives. What are they, guys? And people have not been able to find them out.
Probably interactions with other champions. Like, I would look towards Brand and Rumble, anything with fire, basically, and there's probably something there. Like, if Brand stomps out a seed or something like that. Because there's people like, I think it's Graves. If Graves launches his restricting vision spell, I don't know what it's called, I don't play Graves. When he drops that on a Nocturne, he says something.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, and there are a couple little things like that. So I'm sure it's something cool like that. I'll have to figure that out.
Yeah.
Now, I was pumped trolling around on Twitter, and actually you guys over at Pentakill brought up the League of Legends Legos. Holy
Yes.
crap, I want them. It's just in the tentative phases right now. They're proposed to come out, but with enough people, they'll actually put them into production. I want this like nobody's business. They look so cool. Baron one.
It's pretty incredible.
What do we
you know?
got?
Baron Nashor.
They got minions.
That's what I
Right.
was looking at. I'd say
got
I'm
Minions.
getting a Baron Nashor. That's just how it
Blitzcrank.
is.
Yeah, I want. They got Brand, Blitz, Lux.
Oh, good.
It's so awesome.
Oh,
Favorites.
and Legos has actually dove in and Legos jumped in
official.
and yeah, they gave them an official thumbs up because they got 500 votes so fast. So
Yes,
they're up to
Yeah.
2,000, near
Oh,
2,000
God.
votes already.
Good.
There we
Good.
go. That's
So-
awesome.
Yay!
So Lego sees it and hears it, which is good, and it's in the right age range too. So like Firefly is a big kind of huge community that pushed Lego Firefly, and
Yup. I remember that.
and it was incredible. But you know they shut it
Lego
down.
River
because
Tam
it was
killing
age range.
everything.
Right. But yeah, they got Blitzcrank, and I mean, it's gonna be great. I'm
They
really
look legit. Those little
Yeah.
minions. Oh my
Yeah.
god. So
Yeah,
cool.
blue and purple.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. That's great.
Uh,
It's like they're made of 30 to 40 parts.
Wow,
boom.
those minions.
Yeah.
Get on.
30, 40.
Minions
Yeah.
will be-
Minions have spawned. Yes, I can't wait. It's gonna be great, dude. I'm gonna take photos of that and stick it up. That's gonna be my new profile picture on Severity. Just a bunch of minions motoring around the map. I want a map. I want trees and I want all of their stuff. I want the river. I want an entire. I want the entire Summoner's Rift map all in Legos.
But knowing Lego, though, you're going to pay so much for
Oh
that.
my
I mean, the
We'll
Legos
do it
can.
with a smile, with a smile.
I totally agree.
I'll eat my
Legos,
ramen with a
Rabbi-
smile for 6 months to get that.
Legos, when I was a kid, they were cool. They were awesome. But now, all the stuff that you can get, oh
Yeah.
my god! Lord of the Rings, you can buy Helm's Deep. You can just buy the whole thing.
Millennium Falcon. I'm still considering dropping $200 on that.
Yeah,
That's
that's what
obscene.
that's what you get a big kid job for, is so you can buy all your little kid toys. Why not?
And what's better is I'm gonna go to Toys R Us to get mine too.
Good.
I'm gonna walk in there, almost 30, just by myself. It's like, what you doing? No, I'm just getting some Legos, man. They never get old. I'm a big kid now. Where's the League of Legends Lego set, huh? I want to buy everything. I'll buy the whole aisle. Forget it.
So speaking of Renzler buying things, Zero to Hero Renzler. Renzler, we haven't played too many games, but how are you doing in your quest to become not so bad a League player?
I think I did pretty well. I mean, for me, I played a total of 7 games. I went 6-1. Granted, a total of 6 games were bot games, but I did win a normal. I had some pretty solid teammates. I had Dazzle, Inno King, and a few pubs, and things went pretty well. I think Warwick is solid. I'm still doing some pretty good jungling with him, but I've tried out laning. So what I did is I picked up Janna, and try to see what I can do assisting a big stick, all damage kind of lane pusher and see really what I can get going there. I'm thinking, because we talked about this last week on the last podcast, that I seem to be more of a team player type, so I'm more of a support or a jungler kind of guy that doesn't have to be getting all of those kills. And I think I'm doing decent. I mean, one of my games with Warwick, I have it up here on the page, I went 4-0-7, and I now obviously firmly believe you should never die in a bot game. And going 4-0-7, being able to play better and actually feeling like I'm progressing from when I started to now, that's a good feeling. And yes, I'm still playing against bots, but you have to start somewhere, and you have to start that progression. So I think I'm doing that. So once I hit, I'd say level 10 or maybe level 15, that 15's kind of pushing it, just to get right into normal games, because I know real humans don't play the way the bots do. I get it. I understand it. So learning to play against people means you have to play people. But I either have to get a lot of Severity people that are willing to play with a noob like me, or I just suffer through pugs and turn chat off. But I don't really want to turn chat off, because I want to communicate. You can't have five people that happen to be wearing the same color jersey go onto a field and win anything. It has to be as a team. Well, that's how it was when I played soccer. I mean, you have either a team of players that go out and do their best and play well together, or you have a bunch of kids who happen to be wearing the same jersey. There's a difference in how those two teams would play. And I don't want to be the guy that doesn't talk to anybody, or isn't paying attention, or isn't trying to help. And I'm willing to accept instruction. I don't have to be the leader. So I think I can be pretty solid as a support, and therefore play Janna, and we won that game. So that was pretty solid. I died a couple times, but E. I love that E. I love that shield. I mean, it could use a little bit of a buff. I'm trying to find the right item build for Janna, because I haven't played many games with her, but I think I've got off to a good start.
Good. Maybe some of our listeners will rally together and we'll get you at least in some threes games, because threes is better for learning champions that are played by people and not by computers.
My problem with threes is the diversity isn't there. In threes, it's the meta is still kind of there where bruisers are the way to win. So even in rank threes, you're still not seeing the squishier champions, the squishier support. You're seeing big, tanky, damage-dealing bruisers.
Yeah.
But you can familiarize yourself with it. I started with threes.
Yeah, that's
I'm not aiming for straight from noob to tournaments. That's not what I'm going for. I want to go from noob to a decent player that you would not mind having on your team. That's my goal. So, hey, and so you guys would be saying, hey, you guys want to play at fives? Yeah, sure. Well, who can we get? And it says, oh, well, is Renzler around? If you think of me something like that, not as in, oh, we need to teach him something, or, oh, let's watch the noob fail miserably. It's, hey, let's get Renzler in, because now he actually knows what he's doing, and he seems to be decent.
There we go.
Well, sir, I volunteer to help and learn along with you.
Yes,
That's
cool.
fair.
Yeah,
Done.
I'm all for that.
Done.
Cool.
I think my favorite move when I was like learning was, which is like, last week, but still, I mean, like, I was, like, people would just rage against me in the jungle, right? It was, God, you're so terrible. You're just noob jungler, like, all chat, right? And so I was just like, actually, I am. Like, what am I doing wrong? Like, just tell me. Stop raging against me, and I'll fix it. And then they immediately would switch tunes, and they'd be like, "Oh man, it's all right. You're okay. Don't worry about it." Like, you just jumped out of the bushes a little bit earlier. They saw you there.
Man, what game are you playing? Because I mean, I'm not a great jungler, but people just don't stop.
I always like it when all the inevitable arguments can always default to jungler, like,
Yeah.
Jungler, how come you didn't buy all the lane's wards? And you're like, well, I need money too. And they're like, Jungler, you haven't ganked my lane the most. And you're like, yes, I can't. And they're just like, Jungler caused us to lose the game in all chat. And you're like, what the hell, guys?
That's
Come
what I've
on.
gotten. That's what I've gotten in 3 games, and
You get it all the time.
And with the one loss, oh yeah, it was my fault, of course. Yeah, it was totally my fault because you completely tower dove 2-on-1, think you can kill all the minions and the tower and 2 champs. Yeah,
or like they'll ping you when they started a fight in their lane and you weren't close and they died, and they're like, Jungler, I expected you there.
Jungler, where were you?
I went bottom half of the map.
It takes time to run from blue buff to blue buff on the other side of the map. Thanks. I've had to do that
That's so
before.
true.
But of course,
Yep.
when we win and the jungler actually helps, for example, my 4-0-7 jungle win. Yeah.
You're not
Yeah.
getting the credit.
Yeah.
That's not. They're never gonna give that.
No
to
one
you.
mentioned anything about the jungler. It was like, dude, I totally crushed my lane. It was awesome.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Jungler- Jungler stole 4 kills.
4-0, dude. I had to help you kill that guy.
Yeah.
Oh, jungler's so OP. It's like the most important spot, but it's the one spot where you're not going to get credit and you're expected to do the most.
I had somebody. I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna need a gank down here because somebody took jungle from me," and I was like, "All right, whatever. I'll just roll support or something." I was like, "We're just getting smashed, dude. We need help," And it was like simultaneous. Like everybody in every lane pretty much said the same thing at the same time in chat, right? They all pinged the jungler and pinged their lane, and she was just like, "Sure, don't worry about it. I'll gank everything all at once right now. Hang on, let me buy some wards."
It's my map clearing ulti. No.
There was one time I was jungling as, I want to say it was Nautilus, and there was an enemy Shaco, and I was like, guys, if you can help me with wolves a lot and blue, then I can gank faster and help out a little bit more. So he starts counter jungling me pretty hard, and I was like, I'm gonna need and then Mordekaiser mid starts killing all the wraiths, and I was like, oh, man, I need wraiths, and he was like, no, you do not. I will be taking blue and wraiths upon every cycle. It's like, what the hell, man? Like, you said I could jungle, and you'd have half the creeps. That's not how that works.
At the end of the game, he's like, "Look at my CS. This is awesome."
It was like 2 minutes. He's like, look at my CS. I'm pushing the lane.
Look at my CS and jungler, you were horrible, and you
Right?
should feel bad about that. Get better.
We ended up winning, by the way. I made I think I ended up getting like 27 assists or something.
What about the self-team gank? Can't you just be fed up with one of your laners and just headbutt him into something? Be like, I'm just gonna tie you to this turret and let it shoot you.
Right? Just like, I wish that you could sabotage teammates, but I know what that would do.
Sabotage.
Like a blitzcrank.
Use the new stealth stuff and just go invisible. Just be a switch and just
Use the
visible.
Evelyn stealth upgrade.
Yep.
Speaking of those stealth upgrades and junglers, so we've had quite a bit of time now to kind of play around with the latest updates to Xin, Twitch, and Eve. So we thought we'd take some time and sort of reflect on those changes and sort of how they came out. So we'll start off with Xin. I played Xin previous to these changes, and I always built him the super glass cannon mentality, where you just basically coming out of the jungle exploding and then more than likely dying, but at least getting someone to kill somewhere. And to be honest, I mean, I won't say I'm the best Xin player, but I did play a lot of games, and that mentality hasn't changed much. I started building a little bit tankier to see how he would do, but I was still running into situations where, I wasn't able to survive like I wanted to. But I'd say out of all of the changes, the Crescent Sweep, that ulti is just so good now. And it's not the best always in like some other ultis are that can really do a ton of damage. It's definitely not a damaging stuff, but man, the first game I played with him against actual people, not bots, because I always test champions with bots before I play them against people. I got a double kill by knocking 2 people from the jungle straight into the turret. And that was fantastic. You just have to use it and dominate people with it. Either anybody plays Xin, experienced Xin?
I have. He's a lot burstier, and it's kind of refreshing. The one thing I don't love is I feel like you're kind of bottlenecked into building attack speed, even with his steroid. But I did find out that when you build him tanky, and I tried it a few games, when you build him straight tanky, the damage is kind of naturally there, and you're a very hard force to stop. And I in a really weird way, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a little bit of a tiny nerf to Xin coming up. That's what I would expect.
Okay. All right. Anybody else?
I haven't had time yet.
Awful, fail, noob, jungler's fault.
I know.
All your
Jungler's fault.
I
being
know.
in the jungle, without Xin, even though we told you not to buy him. So Aliwicious, You are a major Twitch and Eve
I
player,
love them.
so I'm going to let you lead the discussions on that.
Okay, so Twitch, I thought it was kind of an interesting little twist of events there with the discussion from Riot claiming that Twitch in the league was not fair because of his long duration stealths. And I, for the most part, can understand that. And everyone's heard the joke that Twitch and Eve are living, moving wards, and albeit they were, and I'm glad to see that they at least looked at stealth and kind of improved it. There's a really lengthy discussion on the League of Legends forums right now about the state of Twitch, and I don't remember the gentleman that posted. I can look it up here momentarily. TGF Liquidity. He made a very long and very well thought out post about Twitch and about how Twitch's problem right now is that all other AD carries that are pretty much in the circuit and being used have an on-demand steroid. And for the most part, I like Twitch's abilities. I like his little cask that comes out, and I think it's really good now that Expunge doesn't remove the stacks like it used to, so you don't have to feel like it's a very last ability to hit. My one concern though is that his stealth providing you with the attack speed bonuses, the best case scenario, assuming you're not being damaged, is 1.5 seconds on that. So you have to stealth before you can unstealth and get that attack speed bonus. And in the chance that a team fight kind of breaks out or a gank happens on you, even if you can kill those players and you know you can outdamage them, you need 3 seconds of just getting beat on before you're going to get that steroid. And for a lot of very squishy AD carries, everyone knows how 3 seconds is about how long you survive. So I hope that they change that. I hope that they fix it, because right now there are some really great examples made of how every other AD carry does something really well. They have a really great positioning tool. They have a nice steroid. And they have usually a nice damage dealer, and unfortunately Twitch's steroid and positioning tool are one and the same, and it comes at a time delay and nobody else sees that. So I think right now he's fun. He's more viable than he was, but that's my thought.
I haven't seen a lot of Evelyn's or Twitch's in game. There's kind of that really fast burst after the patch came out, obviously, because everyone's trying them out. But now that the week is kind of solidified and this patch is sort of solidified, I think I would categorize them in the same amount that I would see any other champion. There's certain champions I think that you always see in game or always somehow pops up because of whatever patch came out recently. But I think overall, Twitch less so than I normally would, and Evelyn kind of is starting to creep back up into where I'm not just laughing when she's on the queue up screen. But I think overall the patch did well for all three champions. If it didn't buff them or nerf them in any sort of great capacity, it at least made them more fun to play, added some unique features to them, and made them, really interesting characters to play.
I'm really glad that you've got a change of life, change of experience with that. She's a lot more viable. Eve does a lot of explosive damage. Very, very playable now.
Right. Eve was one of those champions for me that I was afraid of, and not because I played against her and I had terrible experience, but because so little people played her that I just assumed that she was one of those really clutch champions that are really hard to play. But just game after game, it was always terrible.
And I remember the games where you needed someone to dodge because you didn't want to bite the bullet. You pick Eve, and then you just insta-lock with teleport and revive. You don't know how many people were just so frightened of playing with that. They were just like, nope, done, leaving. And I know it's kind of a douche move, but, when your friend gets on, like, oh, I just got on. You're like, I'll dodge. You just insta-lock with Eve and see if people are willing to quit before you.
There you go.
That's amazing.
Even
I guess I have to switch to Karma now.
Instalock, revive, teleport, and then just type mid.
Yep.
Instalock mid. Look at that. Tied it back into the show.
Shameless self-promotion, dude.
Why not?
All the people who are watching this show because we promoted it in the first place.
That's right.
So, Any final thoughts on the most recent patch and the 3 champions and good?
It's a lot of change to have. A ton of change on a ton of champions. I think we're going to see more content come out about it in the upcoming weeks. New champion, 3 reworks. Like there's a whole ton of stuff that just got turned upside down on us.
Right.
Hey, and bravo to Riot for not tanking their servers. Like they're actually really stable lately. I'm not scared of updates.
Impressed.
Well,
Yes.
we had some pretty long discussions about whether or not we as free-to-play consumers are entitled to really complain about those downtimes, but those were sad weeks. We were like 2 episodes in to the podcast, and we're like, well, broken this week, so
Yeah, let's just complain about it for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Put it up on the
What are we gonna
web.
talk about?
That's what it's there for.
Yep. So our section still yet to be named, still yet to be tackled and understood. Questions with Renzler.
Q&A with Renzler. We decided on this last week. Listen to the podcast, okay?
It even says it on the sheet that I wrote.
We
So-
called it. We
Maybe
called
I
it
should
questions, and it was the worst section title ever, and we know.
It's an awkward sin.
So I would put the music up, but I know it's copyrighted, so I can't. But this week's theme is In the Jungle. So,
Dun, dun.
so
Which
when you're not
really
laning, you're
help-
playing support or you're jungling. So what goes on in the jungle? What do we think about it? How do we feel about it? Because I hear Aliwicious playing a lot of laners and really getting into that game. High creep scores, lots of champion kills, things like that. From what I can tell, based on the couple of games I've played with Motgnarom, that he's basically the same way. So let's talk about the jungle. So, Aliwicious, first up, who's your favorite jungler?
Favorite jungler, by far. Actually, the one champion that started me into jungling, Shyvana. I watched a tournament with Moscow 5, saw a disgustingly good amount of counter jungling, excellent ganks. I saw it all, and I was like, wow, she's so overpowered. And it turns out she isn't, but at least got me into the jungle, and now I'm playing Nautilus. So Shyvana, I would have to say.
All right, Mr. Motgnarom, favorite jungler?
I actually only played him a few times, but I've really enjoyed Xin in the jungle. I think with his new mechanics, and I think with his ability to do knockups and everything, all the times I've played Xin, it's been in the jungle, except for my early times in top lane. But he's got to be my favorite. I think just overall playability, coming out of the jungle and just being able to lunge and knock up, it's all great. He's got to be my favorite.
Okay, and Lex.
I have not played the jungle, but I've been told to try Shaco, basically.
Oh,
Very good.
Shaco's brutal.
I was like, wow, high skill base. If you can learn that one,
They
you'll learn
said,
them all.
yeah, they said it was hard, but I was like, if I'm gonna learn, might as well go hard to go home.
Go big or go
That's-
home for
I mean,
sure.
that's a hard lane to learn on, period.
Nah, it's the safest one. You're not getting harassed. There's no one there spanking
Unless you're
you.
playing against Nunu.
You're not getting wall
It's
stomped.
just eating your minions in your jungle.
All right, finally, Ken, favorite jungler?
Nocturne with a close second is Nautilus, but I like Nocturne because he's got like every gank possible. He's got a
Right.
global gank. He's got
That
a
ulti.
surprise gank. He's got
Ganks with his
Uh,
ganks. So
yeah. So and that's I think that's the one role that you are most known for typically is ganker. And everybody expects Nocturne to just hang out in the jungle until 6,
Yeah,
unless
come
you're.
out until you're six.
So they're kind of off your ass for the first 6 levels, but if you jump out and you get a good fear off in mid or something, everybody loves you at that point. So yeah, the aggro is low with that jungler, and he's he's a really good ganker, so I enjoy it. And the more skilled you get with them, the more kind of finesse kind of plays out. So like actually
They're
hitting
really good.
hitting his claw, and his fear on the way in from the gank, with his ulti is insane, and like people recognize that. So
You come out like the devil, and the enemy's just like, oh god, oh, never mind, done.
Yep. And
Yeah.
there's nothing like watching the entire mini map, like seeing
go
every
black.
single enemy just move backwards, right?
They try to run for their tower, they book it.
Yeah.
Not today, Junior.
Get
Not
to the
today.
tower! Yeah.
Yeah. The
All
only
right.
downside with him is that he asks you if you're tired all the time.
Are you tired? No, I'm clicking. Just go. Shut up and go where I told you. Okay, so the next question, what is your least favorite jungler? And we're really talking about champions that are supposed to be in the jungle. Champions that are basically designed for it. I'm not talking about taking like a Ezreal and running through the jungle because, that'd be like me doing it with Graves. It's just stupid. So
I remember that.
least favorite jungler that's supposed to be in the jungle. Motgnarom, go.
I can't believe that you don't have this right off the bat, Tom.
Fine.
It's probably gonna be Warwick. And I started my jungle career as Warwick, but something about him recently, I haven't had any good luck with him. I haven't had any good luck playing in games where there was a jungle Warwick. He used to be my favorite, but I think with new junglers like Nautilus, Shyvana, Nocturne coming out, he's been bumped down.
No Jarvan?
I like Jarvan in the jungle just because I'm not good with him.
Okay.
He's awful at it.
Okay,
He's
Aliwicious.
Bad jungle.
Least favorite jungler, Alistair. And I know how good the ganks are, so the incoming flame of those I'm ready for.
Please flame him on the YouTube video. Thank you.
Right? They're just gonna tear me apart. I know he's a good ganker. I just hate him in the jungle. It's like 1 out of every 12 times you get a good one, and it only raises your expectations for the next one to suck so bad.
Yeah. Yeah, this is gonna be awesome. Oh, I'm dead.
Right? And they're like 0 and 12, and you're like, never
Yeah,
mind.
good work, jungler. Yeah, thanks.
I-
All right, so Ken, fire it off.
Least favorite. I'm actually Shaco is who I started jungling with, and I'm just not a fan of him, man. Like I've got all of his skins. I was a big, huge, massive fan in the beginning, and then once I really actually learned how to jungle, I was just like, this is kind of terrible. Like this is
It's so
like I'm screwed if I don't get kills, and like.
Okay, Lex, what you got?
I'm gonna go ahead and say Udyr.
What?
Oh, he's
No,
good.
no, no. I know.
Right?
Hear me out. Because, like, other than Ashe, Udyr is the actual only other champion I've actually played with. I know it's sad, but yeah. That's one thing. And also all the abilities and stuff. I guess, like, I upped everything except for his turtle stance. Like, I just do not understand how to use turtle stance. You know what I mean? Like, everybody keeps telling me, you should have done it, but I don't.
It's kind of funny because I refer to Udyr as Man Bear Pig.
I'll go over. There you go.
And I didn't want to play him at the beginning because of like the 800 abilities you have to keep. Like you just smash your face into that corner of the keyboard, and you're just doing well. And I just never got used to it.
I love him. I absolutely love that guy. But my team hates him. They hate it when I play Udyr. I mean, I've even had somebody spectate me that's a fan of our app and say, Wolf Spider should never play Udyr, right? And like, I just, I can't get kills with the guy because I think, I don't know, most of the jungle guys that I read, you go Phoenix and Turtle and then
Phoenix.
Bear. And so I'm doing Phoenix, Turtle, Bear, and I'm not supposed to be killing this guy. I'm supposed to be clearing minions and locking him down. And they just don't, like, they want me killing people, So,
I totally understand.
yeah.
If everyone else got to decide, you'd be level 5 Bear stance first.
Right.
Don't want Bear, guys. It's not helpful. They're like, Bear for the stun.
Bear for the win.
Get out in my lane, and you bear mode on everybody, and you win us the game.
Well, that actually brings us into the next question. So when you're in a game and you're not playing jungle and you're normally a jungler, let's say somebody else has to be the jungler, what champion would you want them to pick? And we're assuming a decent player, I'd say 1200 elo or so, somebody who understands the game and knows how to play it, not somebody like me. So, Aliwicious, who is your favorite person to have as your jungler when you're not the jungler?
Nautilus. Nobody gets away from him. Like, even if the guy's decent and lands some of the abilities, just like with the stun on the auto attack and the anchor to close the gap and the slow, like, you don't escape Nautilus ganks.
I've played with some bad Nautiluses, and Aliwicious is a good Nautilus.
Very good Nautilus.
But there have been some pretty bad ones that I've had to suffer, and I don't know.
We're assuming they're good.
I'll give you
We're
a good one.
assuming they're
Right,
good.
right. Assuming that he's good, I can give that to you.
Okay, go ahead, Motgnarom.
Volibear. Stupid bear, stupid amount of health. Flip him up and just It's incredible to watch a Volibear come out with so much health. And my favorite item in the game is Warmogs. And he's one of the only champions that, like, every single time you just buy Warmogs. Just buy it. And I've never played him, but I love having him on my team because he's just a wall. And a
Nice.
scary
Ken?
wall.
I'm gonna go with Lee Sin because
Oh,
if you got that 1,200, 1,400 elo guy that's rocking that ward that he just throws randomly just to catch up to people, I mean, I'm just
yeah.
that happens and people surrender. You know, like this is
When you see that Lee Sin dance happen, you're like, yeah, he's on my team. What are you guys gonna do?
So all I have to say, Ken, is I'll get you in touch with our EU league captain. He loves the daylights out of Lee Sin. You'll like what you see when he's playing Lee Sin.
awesome,
I'm not kidding.
Awesome.
So
That's
pass the
great.
question to you. Actually, pass the question to Lex.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna go ahead with Nocturne because Ken plays it, and I don't want to offend him because he's right here. You know, he can punch me.
Just punch him. He's in
Just
the
the
room. You
doc-
can punch
I
him.
could do the same thing. Oh, that's true.
Okay.
That's good.
So let's flip the question. The least favorite champion, the one even with a decent player, you're looking at the screen and going, really? That you out of all your choices, you picked that guy? So Aliwicious, I know you're waiting to answer this question. Go.
There's so many of them that I just, like. Recently, in a weird way, I would have said Jungle Malphite because people sucked with him before, but they're getting better because of the insurgence of him in streams and high yellow play. But I have to say it's a tie between Warwick and Skarner because it makes me sad, but people only play them for their ultis. And I know they're pretty good ultis, but other junglers do cool stuff. Like Warwick, you know his only responsibility is to run out in the lane and hit R. And Skarner, he's going to run out in the lane and try to R things to you. Like, come on, once that's done, or you miss it, or they flash out of it, never mind. Get back in the jungle, because you suck.
Okay. All right, Ken, go.
Let's see, worst one. Oh, we just had it up. Crap, what was it? Hang on. I don't have like a fierce hatred for anything in particular.
It takes
It
time to
is
build that
usually-
up.
Yeah. I just saw it actually. Crap. Where was it?
Sorry.
You have to edit some of this, I think. Draven. I have yet to see, well, at least the guys that I play with, anybody that's like really, really good at catching those spinning axes and
People
And then
play
just-
him in the jungle?
Yeah.
no,
Why?
it's just
No,
random,
you
right?
can do it.
This is everywhere, right? I've seen the jungle run with Stonewall, but like,
Stonewall's so good.
is this any champion that we're talking about, or is this in the jungle?
Preferably jungle.
Gotcha.
Preferably champions that are supposed to be in the jungle. That's what their role was basically designed for, yeah.
Fiddlesticks is the other one. You're either really awesome or you're terrible, right? Like,
I loved me some fiddle.
It's
Come
so
on.
bad.
I was
There was
terrible. I was a terrible
dumbass.
fiddle.
You were a fiddle that built like attack damage. I remember that. That was awful.
You
I
had
was
2
using a
Doran's
build,
items.
Yo.
You
You
had
guys
the
told me to
shield
use a
and the-
build, and you actually linked one for me. We put it up on the episode. I used it, and I went like
No,
0-10.
that was the Warwick build with the 2
Oh.
boots because it's an
Oh
option.
yeah.
You either choose one
I
or the
bought
other.
2 pairs
on
of
both.
boots and didn't sell one.
I remember that. I was like, hey, why do you
That
have
was awesome.
man?
It's one for each foot.
I need one for each foot. You know, they're like socks. You lose them, you got to put another one on. They don't have to
Well-
match, do they?
Oh god,
Okay, and Lex.
those games.
I'm gonna go ahead and say Nocturne again because Ken plays him.
Pro troll.
It's
Okay,
like it's a character you love and hate. You know what I mean?
okay, Motgnarom, did you answer the question?
No, I haven't yet.
There you go.
Hecarim, and it's no fault of his own, but all the Hecarim players I've been playing with are just derp. Like, they go super
Derp.
fast, they're running all over the place, and they'll even get in some good ganks super early game. But once you get to that turning point where most junglers are in a pretty good spot to be integrated into the rest of the team with team fights, Hecarim, all the games I've played with him, even from I'm even gonna say when he first came out too, he's just not good. The health isn't enough for his ability to move into a fight, and he's just been getting wrecked. And he's just not a good jungler to me. I don't
Okay.
like
I'm
him.
gonna change my answer. Mine says Sejuani.
Oh,
Oh, nobody brought her up and you hate, says
The
Ron.
most unplayed derp champion that shouldn't be removed. I've never
Nope,
seen
you
one
already-
removed.
Your answer can't change.
Damn it. That's so good.
I am
That's fine.
bleeping that out. Okay.
That's
So
fine.
the last question. So get rid of all the normal jungle champions. What champion would you like to see as a non-jungle champion be a good jungler? Either changing stats or possibly even an ability. I don't know if they do that to any champions. But who'd you like to see be a good jungler? So Motgnarom.
I was actually talking to Aliwicious in the car ride home from work today. I'd love to see LeBlanc. And only because of her. And I know any champion can jungle given the proper build and the proper items early game. I know that's a thing. I think LeBlanc's awesome ability to have the quadruple flash if you do it right would be awesome to have in the jungle, just to flash around and have a super high mobility and be able to move anywhere they want. I think that'd be cool.
Okay, Aliwicious.
In a really awesome way, I keep working on it. One day it will be so. Jungle Poppy, because Poppy can single-handedly carry a game if she can get the farm, and that's why they haven't messed with her. Because right now, that's the delimiter. If you can get her in a lane and you can allow her to farm, you're almost guaranteed a victory. So, a Jungle Poppy.
Interesting. Okay, and Ken.
I like Talon. I actually gave it a shot a couple games, and it was fun. The ganks are awesome, but it was hard, man.
Yeah.
It was hard.
You get real low on the HP. You're like,
Yep.
oh god, potion.
Yep.
Yep.
It doesn't matter how many times I push potion.
Right? Doesn't go faster.
Yeah. Blue slaps you around pretty good, even with a leash. So, but he was cool, man. I liked him. I liked his ganks. I liked his escapes, and he just hits really hard.
He does.
That bleed is awesome.
So good.
Okay, and Lex.
Ash, because I'm just really familiar with her, and I feel that given any situation, if I practice her enough, I can pretty much use her in any situation. So
I think that arrow would be awesome.
that arrow was
Or
amazing.
arrowing-
With an arrow point.
Arrowing from the bush, that would be fantastic. I mean,
Out.
you could do that now, but as a surprise tactic from the jungle, that'd be fantastic.
Everyone having to be frightened when that arrow's just gonna come out.
Yeah. Out of nowhere.
I'm doing it. I'm doing it tonight. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
All right,
was
well, Motgnarom, it's yours back, man.
All right, so every week we are trying to, as always, feature outstanding members in the community, making a difference, bettering it for all of us. And this week, we obviously have the devs and the rest of the team for the Pentakill app. So, Ken and Lex, take it away. Tell us about who you are and what you guys do.
Sure. So I am the designer and co-founder of Twin Engine Labs. Sorry, co-founder of Twin Engine Labs, designer of Pentakill. And it's an iPhone app that is intended to be the ultimate kind of companion for while you're playing. The idea is that the experience is so well thought out as far as what we've tested in the lab and worked on that you're going to be able to flick through information in between games and on death, and then use other tools that we're creating during a game and during draft pick and things to be able to just be a better player, a more informed player, sort of a little bit have an edge. And then it ultimately, while you're out stuck in a line or, doing your adult things, you can also reference every scrap of information about the game. So, and I think most iPhone apps do that well already, is the database kind of portion, and that's sort of the easy part. They all look really bad, though, and they're difficult to use. And so we got that right first, right out of the gate. So what's in the App Store right now is a really well-done database. And that database is actually synced at the same time Riot updates their thing. So
Nice.
And so we don't wait for the Apple to tell us that, it's ready to be approved or disapproved or whatever, just because a new champion came out. We actually just update your phones on the fly and send a push notification. So what a lot of our fans have noted, though, is that Jace isn't even on our app yet. What's going on, guy? And so if
Zen
we
isn't
move as
updated either.
fast as Riot, yeah. So the devs right now are actually work really hard at work, and they're banging on scraping Wikia and trying to make sense of that insanity. So Wikia is done by real people all day, and they can do it however they want to do it. And they're usually really good about it, but the second the peanut butter comes in, it's going to come back out on the app. So we have to make sure that we're scrubbing the data and we're doing the right thing as far as ingesting the data and understanding it properly. So it's a really two-edged sword. I mean, if you want it faster than Riot is even pushing it out, you could end up with really misleading data. Or if you want it to be super crisp and clear, then you gotta wait for Riot. And so Riot still hasn't even put up Jace, and they're like 2 patches out right now. So yeah, but anyway, so that's sort of a minor thing. The really cool sci-fi stuff is like the screen analyzer. So imagine you're doing draft pick and hold your phone up to your screen and just swing it across all the champions that you can visibly see, and we'll tell you which ones are good counters to those champions. And it's essentially just a camera. You open the camera part of the app, and you actually point it at the screen. And as soon as it locks onto a champion, it'll ding and let you know. And then show you the little thumbnail of who it's gotten. And you can just queue up all the information cards and the counter picks to the champions that you can see on the screen right now.
That's legit.
I'm buying an iPad tomorrow. Wow.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, it's fine. Did you have a question?
Oh, no, in a really funny way, I remember one day at work, Motgnarom walked up to me, he was like, I have an app you need now. I was like, oh, that's a statement right there. You ain't gonna tell me what my apps are. So he's like, go check out Pentakill. So I go to the website first, and I was like, wow, that's awesome. Like, that's exactly what I want just to have, and kind of funny that I wanted more of like the line scenario. But I did comment, and you guys responded really quickly, and I'm glad you did. I am a die-hard Android user, and you guys told me that you're starting the Kickstarter for it, so I'm glad to see that coming. So I'll just find some way to emulate an iPhone app on my PC or something.
Yeah. I think the Android community is one of the noisier Me Too communities for sure, and we didn't pick for any other good reason other than 20gen Labs is an agency that specializes in nothing but iPhone and iPad, so we just don't know how to program it. But we have good contractors, and they're willing to do it. They just won't do it for free like we do. So we're just gonna say, fine, cool. Android guys, we hear you. We know that we're allowed to take your money as soon as we have an Android app available, but we have to get that up front.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, because I have no problem paying for good apps. And usually, just as you said, you get the database, and the database is the one part that everybody has the same access to. It's how to use it, and that interface in applications is essentially the make or break it part. So I'm glad to see that someone is really focusing on how to interface that with people. And I'm assuming that a lot of the bumps and bruises are out of the way through the iPhone development, and a port isn't, 5 years out looking back.
I have an odd criticism of your app. First of all, and Renzler, per their choice, feel free to edit this as possible. Very sexy app. It looks great. The usability, it flows nicely. It has, I'd say, better than some of the other League of Legends apps that are available for the iOS currently. It looks great, and it feels great, and it's smooth while you use it. But for some reason, all of your character profiles for the champions focus on the girls. Every single, like Ari, they're all just focused right in on the chest.
That's what I said.
Area.
Yeah, so
This isn't
aware.
only me.
Yeah, and you don't have to edit it out. That's a great question, because it's been asked a lot. So, like, I think Eve is like the most astounding example of this. So, what we did so when I designed it, I hand cut the graphics and everything for the prototype and set it up just so that it was perfect, right? Like Eve's head was actually in the shot. What's interesting is that we had to make a decision up front, because there was 100 and something, I guess more than 100 now. Or are we right at 100 now, or is it 101 now? Yeah, so
You didn't even get her head. That's
No,
just
no,
all.
yeah, it's all yeah, it's in an arm, like it's ridiculous. So, but so when we're looking at it, we're like, dear God, we have to make a decision at this point. What's it going to be? And so I said, the rule of thirds. That's what designers and photographers set up, right? So what's interesting is that like Riot
The
has,
third, they're always their breasts.
yeah, Riot has set right on that crosshair is boobs like every single time, right? And so I mean we're doing the same math on every character, right? And so what comes back equals, it's the female character boobs, it's the chest. So what we're doing now is I've committed to the fans. I've said I will hand adjust every one of these profile images, but I need the devs to build me something for that. So they're hard at work on that. They're making that feature for me so that I can log in and bump the pictures up and down so that the faces are actually there.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, so and it's actually it goes without saying though that it's actually not just the women. Right below Eve, you'll see Easy, and he doesn't even have a head either. So, but he's just not nearly as sexy. So.
Just don't make them mug shots from some police department, okay?
Right. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So that's a valid criticism for sure.
That's fine. That's good.
One of the other things that I wanted to talk about too was that we don't have any pay-for features right now. The app is absolutely free, but what we are going to have, like that screen analyzer, is going to be charged for. That's pretty nifty technology that took us a while to develop, so we feel like it's warranted in charging money for. We're gonna make everything that everybody else is doing. Plain Jane database, skins, like all that sort of stuff. That's free. What we're going to charge for is innovation in the space. So you'll see us charging we're going to have a voice-controlled jungle timer. So you're going to talk to it like Siri, and then it's going to queue off of Pentakill. And so you can say everything from start game, end game, clear timers, all of it, and she will respond with a voice response to let you know when blue is up, dragon's down, that sort of thing. So you never even have to really look at it. You just talk to your phone and it runs the timer for you. But you can look at it and you can tap the different jungle creatures if you want to. And we'll do everything down to even the inhibitors. So it's going to be pretty hardcore. And then another feature is, and it's not so much of a feature, but it's a pay what you want. So if you want to see us keep doing good, and you like us, or you're fans of us, or you're really happy to have a good app, we're only going to ever charge 99 cents for a feature. But we'll always allow you to pay more, and it'll be just as easy as the one-tap pay purchase. And so we're gonna actually open it up like every big Steam bundle does, or any of the indie developers do. It's sort of the same sort of feel, I guess. And so it's just $1.99, $3.99, $5.99, all the way up to $100. And we'll award you with if you want to be able to do that. You of course aren't obligated, but we'll give you a shout out on Twitter, and there'll of course be swag and things involved with that. So t-shirts,
swag.
Yeah,
I
t-shirts
love
and
swag.
stickers.
Love it.
So yeah, so but of course, I mean, anybody that doesn't want to do that, they can always just roll with the First Blood 99 cent, But we'll go all the way up to Quadra and Pentakill. So
That's really cool.
yeah, and I think let's see, we had voice control jungle timer, we got screen analyzer.
Notes.
Oh, right, and then we'll have builds, and builds are made to be a cheat sheet in the palm of your hand, so that you can swipe through it and see what item you're supposed to be on, and what level, and what you're supposed to be doing at that point. And it's a really easy mobile interface to like try builds out, as far as starting with a blank slate and then dragging and dropping abilities and things like that. So
I have a question for you guys. Only because it's become a feature that I've come to know and love. Do you guys have any plans down the road, or have thought about somehow interfacing that with a computer in-game client overlay? Like I know some of the other jungle timers do that on like mini maps and stuff.
Yep, there's that deluxe one that I use, and I absolutely love that jungle timer.
Right?
I'm having a little bit of like a problem. I think somebody just saying to me that red, because I tend to not want to look, like at which ping it's trying to ping. So like I think somebody yelling at me that red is up is pretty effective, but at the same time I would just die to have an overlay. Absolutely. So We're not Windows programmers either, though, and that is a definite big nightmare for us. We don't even have PCs, so
Oh god.
that would be difficult.
Oh god.
Yeah. So, but it's been looked at where we're doing things where we're actually trying to understand sort of how the game communicates over wireless, and that involves a lot of crazy network package sniffing and all kinds of stuff. So, and break it down into an API that we can talk to, in place of Riot actually releasing a real API.
No, I totally understand that.
Yeah. But so we would love to. I'd really like to be able to have it when like if a character crossed in front of a ward, my phone made all kinds of crazy noises, right?
That's
Legit.
Right?
Pay attention.
Yeah. Where's your map awareness now?
You're about to get
map
killed.
awareness, douche.
Yeah. So those are kind of things that like really super sci-fi stuff that we want to see happen. But right now we're just trucking along with like the mentality that we can get the information from anywhere. For example, counter picks and counter technique to champions, which is just really exciting. That's the first feature we're going to launch with, and that is, I think we're about 3 or 4 weeks out, if not sooner, from that feature hitting. Anyways, so right now we're just focused on what can we do without deep integration into Riot's game, because Riot's actually really interested in setting up an API for us. They definitely they had us fly out and talk to them and visit the offices and everything, and we get to meet their producer team. Incredible, they're really cool guys and gal, and they were like, well, if we could get you anything tomorrow, what would it be? And we're like, just API that's talking to the game live would be amazing. But even if you made the game play really inaudible tones that we could listen to using the phone, like that would be a really easy way for us to communicate with you guys.
Yeah.
And so they were game. They thought they were really excited. They wanted to keep up with us and everything. And so, but they're a big company and things move slow and they, it's a big sticky issue. Like, what do we do with third party? That's a huge question. So
I'm glad to hear though they're at least interfacing with that and they're not just disregarding it. So it is promising.
No, to
yeah,
me,
they're really cool about it. They're really cool about it. They mentioned Elo Buff and they had talked to some other developers, and so they were like really excited to talk to us.
That's cool. That's cool.
To me,
Very
that's
nice.
great. I think that's awesome with what they're doing, because I think eventually the third-party integration and all the really cool apps, including yours, that'll be available on various platforms, will help bring longevity to the game, because there are so many things that make it easier to play on practically every level.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's kind of, our big focus right now with this app is like having an app that grows with us. So we didn't know what a jungle timer was, and then as I started working in the jungle and understanding the jungle, and then realizing how important dragon control is, and like how important how my team appreciates that, like that became a real feature for me. And so the app, originally was just going to be this really quick website that was mobile that I made and designed as fast as possible, just so I could start looking at mobile fire builds and stop worrying about items and start trying to figure out how to play, right? And so I made that, and then the devs hated that whole experience. They said, "Oh, web's a terrible experience. We need it to be smooth and fast, and we can do this." So they did it like a couple weeks, and so
Nice.
and it just spiraled out of control from there. And then we got a big fan base, and got Reddited, and and then downhill from there, right?
You
all the
done
good
hit by the
things.
Reddit effect.
You've been Reddited.
Yeah, it was crazy because we had just dropped analytics on the site and we watched it spike from 0 to 100 live, and hadn't even announced anything. And that was when we just sort of like, we did a response campaign and then the snowball beta signups, and it was pretty cool. But so the reason that we made it though was we were all terrible, but we love the game, right? And we just we're sick of trying to alt tab and it's just so much to do while you're trying to learn the game that we just wanted something in our hands, So that's the goal, is to make sure that, at all levels, this is a useful thing for somebody to use, and it improves their gameplay in some way, shape, or form. And I think the screen analyzer is just going to be awesome. We've been using it right now, and in our pre-made draft pick, and it helps so much for us to counter pick, because we really don't know the counter picks, and they change constantly. So
Always.
So Lex, what do you, within Twin? You said you were at the marketing department. What do you do?
Oh, I'm mostly the community manager for Pentakill, so anything you see pretty much like social media wise, it's basically like me and Ken working on it. I also do all kinds of. I'm working on guerrilla campaigns too, so we're doing some stuff with D20 Girls, the gamer girl organization, and working with other like publications or even streetwear brands to do stuff with Pentakill.
Cool.
Mhm.
Cool.
And you said it's
Yeah.
about possibly 3-4 weeks out. You said.
The app's available now in a quiet way. You can download it. We just haven't really announced it because we're waiting for the magazines and the big PR release wagon to catch up to our social media. Those typically take like 4 to 6 months out, So they're finally kind of catching up and they're ready to push a presser out. But yeah, so you can get the app now, but it's just in the database form. So you're going to get a great looking database, but nothing else. And then the screen analyzer is about 3 to 4 weeks out. We're planning on having another Dev versus Fans tournament in a couple weeks. That's going to be Revenge of the Devs, and you'll see a ton of video content come out for that upcoming, where we all kind of we make fun of like UFC tournaments and things, and we make MLG like a really big deal.
Very nice. Someone has to play Tito Ortiz. Then you have to.
Yeah, I think I may be somewhere near that. I ended up being the like ridiculous whipping boy, but we actually do have one Noisy Demon, our one of the devs, the original dev on the project. He did shave a mohawk into his head, so and
Like
he's
a
gonna yeah,
Oh,
and
yeah.
he and the fans got him voted so high that they got him to wear a pink mohawk with leopard lime green spots. So
Nice.
Just
Boom.
spot like
Boom.
That's
there.
awesome. We need a photo of
It's like
that. I need that photo for the YouTube video. I'm serious.
That's a piece de
we have-
resistance.
yeah, we have a promo image of it somewhere. So where I photoshopped it into his head.
Mhm.
Oh,
But
beautiful.
yeah, so you can throw that in the podcast for sure.
Please,
but
please,
yeah,
do.
we're
Please
definitely
send that to me, and I'll put it.
Okay,
up
I will. And he's a great sport, and he's kind of a hard ass. So it was pretty cool to see him like go. He was like, "Well, look, if you social media guys can get, this up to
50 votes.
50 votes, and we got it done in like 20 minutes." And he was like,
Yeah.
"Well, I'm gonna need 75." It's just ridiculous,
Of course.
And then it was like, about 3 hours later, we got to the 75 mark, and then. And so he's in. It's Lex is going to be dying his head. So
So,
That's
Nice,
legit.
nice.
so I think this tournament coming up that you just mentioned is very cool, and I want to get some footage of it for that podcast down the road. Maybe you guys can come back after the tournament's over. Mott, I don't want to take your job. If you want to talk to them about that and see what we can do.
Yeah, sure.
But I'd love to get Severity involved in that in some way, shape, or form, and at least either rep it or cast for it or whatever you guys want.
great, yeah. So it's going to be what we call the worst of three. We know we're bad, and we're going to get face rolled. So we're going to have some shape or form of a Twitter contest, and then the winners from those Twitter contests will be able to play against us in a best of three. And then after that, though, we're going to be game in for 12 hours. So we'll be up all night, and anybody that jumps in a password-protected match with us can ask us whatever they want, and we'll send them links to like pictures, and we'll get on like live streams and show them videos and things like that. So
Awesome.
You guys
and then-
be playing more with fans during that?
yeah, so that's pretty much. I mean, it's going to be like this password-protected room that only fans will have access to. And anybody that follows us on our social streams can jump in and play against us.
Okay,
And
Lex,
that's really this.
Yes.
please blast your social streams right now so I have an excuse to put them on the video.
Sounds awesome.
So, what's your Twitter?
Twitter is Pentakill app.
Okay, what's your Facebook?
Facebook is Pentakill app.
Okay. And do you have
Set
Reddit or
the-
do you have Reddit or anything else?
With Reddit, we actually post as ourselves. We try and be a little bit more,
Personal.
yeah,
Okay.
personal.
And
So,
what is the official website?
Pentakillapp.com. Yeah.
I didn't
You
know
guys
if
are
it was
really
at Twin
good
Engine
to name
Studios.
everything.
I didn't know, so I had to ask. So everybody, all those URLs are up on the screen right now.
Cool. Cool.
Great.
Well, all right. Well, thanks for coming on the show, guys. You've been awesome. We have a bit of live breaking news as I'm picking up on my Twitter feeds. News coming out of the European forums. We actually now have the details on Diana. we have all of her skills and abilities. So we'll run through those really quick. Her passive, Moon Silver Blade. Diana has an increased attack speed. Every third strike cleaves nearby enemies for additional magic damage. Crescent Strike is her Q. Diana swings her blade to unleash a bolt of lunar energy, attaching enemies with moonlight and dealing damage in an arc before exploding. Pale Cascade is her next ability. She creates 3 orbiting spears that detonate on contact with enemies to deal damage in an area. Also, she gains a temporary shield that absorbs the damage. The shield is refreshed if all 3 spears detonate. Moonfall. The next ability, draws in and slows all enemies, and then her ultimate is she teleports to an enemy and deals magic damage. Lunar Rush has no cooldown when used to teleport a target afflicted with moonlight. So she sounds like an absolute terror that is just going to be getting up in your face and doing a ton of damage. Probably something on the tankier side, and we're looking like AP potentially.
Ooh, Riot is saying jungler. Ooh.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Like that.
Her high area of effect damage and defensive abilities make her an ideal jungler.
That's awesome.
How
I'm actually
exciting.
glad. It's kind of funny that as of this morning, how much did we have on her? And now, not only do we have the sneak peek, but we have the reveal. I'm wondering if the data mining now forces Riot to feel this pressure, like, God damn it, guys, stop.
Is it just me, or did they pump out champions like way faster than they used to?
Well, I think I'm actually wondering how much is data mined previously, but in these past few patches, I think in the effort to reduce some of these bigger downtimes, they've been smoothing in some of this content. And I think it's funny now that pretty much as things are being stolen from their data, they're like, fine, champion sneak peek. So it's kind of funny. I'm wondering if somehow the community is edging that on a bit with their proactiveness.
Right. Well, I definitely don't think they're going to get into a situation where they're at any loss of champions, because I know the company's always hiring and they're growing in size, and obviously in popularity and profit comes along with that. So, hopefully this increased champion speed release, if it even is that. I mean, I haven't played, since the beginning of the game, so I'm not sure the exact speed, but it definitely does look like things are speeding up a bit. So this is the second week in a row, by the way, that live news has happened while we were doing the podcast.
Nice.
So that's just our luck, I guess.
Maybe they're doing that on purpose.
Yeah, no, they're listening. They're one of the...
Just for you.
At least this week it's going to be a much better editing job than last time. I mean, I cut it in and it was pretty good, but at least we didn't have to do the send-offs, then record that, and then stick it in and try to explain why Aliwicious did a send-off, but he wasn't actually here.
Super down, guys.
I'm like, power of editing, guys.
That sounds frightening.
Oh,
No cooldown on that thing. Dear God.
Yeah, this is neat. That seems like you do the 3 orbiting strikes, teleport in, moonfall to slow them, and then just wail,
Chase them till they die. That's good. I look forward to it.
Okay, so the contest.
Yes, we have the results. Surprisingly, I was a little peeved at Reddit because our post apparently got removed. I have to look into what subreddit rules we violated by making that post there. But we only got about 24 submissions, which compared to the last contest we held is not that much. But we got a ton of submissions, and surprisingly, a lot of people thought they were going to make it in with really low numbers. But our winner is the only person who posted actually on the website, Galaxy Mover, with a score of positive 18 with Fizz. So that was a surrender. Oh, no, it took him 33 minutes. So it may have been a natural win, but yeah, congrats to him for winning a PAX Siver skin.
Ooh.
Contacting you in game to get you your skin.
And afterwards, give me the spelling of his name so I can stick it on the video.
No way.
You can actually just hop on the phone.
Just go on the forum? Okay. Like I should.
Good.
Right.
Right.
Troll.
Okay.
Okay.
So that wraps up episode 6 of Instalock Mid. I'd like to thank our guests from the Pentakill app, Ken and Lex.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
Thank you.
for coming on the show and talking with us. We're really enjoying having the different community members on and speaking with us. So we will see you next week with more League of Legends news. I'm Motgnarom signing off with Aliwicious,
Good night, everybody.
Severity Gaming Renzler,
Peace, yo.
and then Ken and Lex.
We don't have anything nearly as cool as that.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
have a nice night.
Now, one more thing before we go and end the cast. We would like some feedback. So if you're listening, if you've listened this long into the cast, thank you. We love
Congratulations.
our community, as small as it is, but we're growing in numbers every week, and we'd love some feedback. We'd love to hear what you guys think about the show, what we're doing well, what we're not doing so well, and what you'd like to see improved. So if you have any comments, or if you are a mover and shaker in the community and would like to come on the show and talk, just send us a line. You can email me at motgnarom@severitygaming.com, or go onto the Severity Gaming forums and leave a post. So thanks again for watching, and we will see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.